This episode is brought to you by Classical Conversations. To find out more, please visit classicalconversations.com.
Colorado school shooting. Again, man.
It's in the air.
And he can't get rid of this Barr Circus. Barr.
And it's expensive.
Circus.
Very expensive circus.
Life after Google?
Oh.
Is there life after Google?
George Gilder.
George Gilder, man. That guy is smart.
I like him.
Yep. And also, a big shout out. We don't do this very much. Big shout out to Eric Runge. He helped us with some things around here.
And we're very grateful. Thank you.
Man.
We got to name
More
this.
coming.
I know. We gotta
Pastor
name that.
Toby, Chuck Knox, Waterboy, good to be here with you guys. We are just a bunch of rowdy Presbyterians, and we're excited to proclaim the Lordship of Christ over every area of our lives. So, we are participating in the Summer Bible Reading Challenge, and we want to encourage others to join us. We're going to do this for 3 months. There's a bunch of people participating in it from all over the world. That's the little things right here.
Yeah, let's be honest for a minute. How's your Bible reading going?
Great.
It's the middle of the year.
Oh, you're talking to me.
Your New Year's resolutions.
You're talking about all those people, those fives and fives of people listening.
I'm talking about you and everybody.
Oh, okay.
I'm a pastor.
Your New Year's resolutions kind of petered out a little bit.
How's your New Year resolution going? Well, the Bible Reading Challenge is for you to jump in on. This is a summer Bible Reading Challenge.
Ooh.
Because, hey, just get in the Word.
Yeah.
And the focus of this reading challenge in particular is just every day in the Word is a good day.
Yeah, absolutely.
The Word is food.
Amen.
And Christians overthink this way too much. It's like if you thought about food the way you think about reading the Bible, like, and you're like, well, I didn't have a steak dinner.
Yeah.
I didn't have a steak dinner for breakfast. Mm-hmm. It's like you would die if you thought that way. But you just eat.
Yeah.
You know, Peter says, like newborn babes, desire the pure milk of the Word. Just eat.
Yeah. That's
right.
Just get in. So if you need some encouragement, jump on board. It's christkirk.com/Bible challenge. There you go.
And you actually submit your email address, get on the email list.
There's also Facebook.
And there's also some Facebook groups for men and for women.
And women.
So is it different for men and women?
Oh, yeah, it's totally different.
Okay.
No, it's the same. It's the same. You're reading the same.
Women get the odds, men get the evens.
The whole thing, it's hashtag same page summer. So we're all getting on the same page.
Same page summer. And then there's also we developed some of these forms, little check boxes and everything for Spanish, French,
lots of languages.
Dutch, the Netherlands. That's what Netherlands. That's what it says. The Polskis.
We're sorry.
The Portuguese. The Russians. I know that's Russian. Turkey.
Serious.
I don't know that last one.
Summer Bible Reading Challenge. Check it out. Check it out. Join up. Read the Bible with us. I'm going to do it. Are you guys going to do it?
Yeah, I'm going to do it.
Secondly, we're going to be at G3 conference in January 2020. We're going to actually do a couple live shows there.
Hey, praise God.
There's some really cool. There's hopefully more things on the back side of things that I'm working on.
How do people find out about G3?
G3. Go to g3conference.com.
Oh, really? It's that easy?
Sign up. It's in Georgia. It's on worship. Tom Askell, Josh Bice, Lawson, Costi Hen. There's a bunch of
one other reason to go. Not only all the great speakers is Georgia just passed this heartbeat law. And and there's like all these people like Hollywood's like pulling out.
Yes.
I like what you're doing.
That's great.
Christians ought to rush in.
Yeah.
And go go buy dinner.
Yeah.
Several times.
Yeah.
Rent a big hotel. I mean, like we want to bless Georgia.
Did you see the filmmakers that are pulling out?
I saw some headlines.
I was like, praise Jesus.
Yeah. And
get your trash out of here.
Yeah. They're pulling out because women's rights are being violated.
Right.
I'm like, you don't care about women's rights.
Right, yeah.
Because they don't mind exposing them on camera.
Exactly.
Right? You know what I'm saying?
Right. Okay. Serious. Yeah. Serious.
All right. So you guys been following this whole Barr Circus?
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Barr Circus.
I want to give a little background first of how we even got to here in the first place.
Yeah. How did we get to here?
There is so much going on. So right now, Barr is being held in contempt. Well, how did we get to this point in the first place? So, remember this whole investigation started because the Hillary Clinton campaign funded a foreign investigator to go do op research on the Trump campaign,
which is normal, right?
A lot of campaigns do pay.
Do this.
Yeah, this is
Trump has somebody. I'm sure
they're always trying to dig up dirt on each other. Is what's going on, right?
Okay, so Hillary hires somebody, foreign operative, to dig up dirt on Trump's campaign,
and then those files became the dossier files for the FISA judge to allow for the eventual Mueller investigation.
So they used a dirt file.
Mm-hmm.
that was for Hillary's campaign against Trump to smear him. They used that
to open an investigation on Trump first. Right.
So campaign money basically funded.
This is worse than I thought.
And remember, the FISA judges are just a collection of judges that allow for secret, that basically will make a decision that we'll let this secret investigation happen within our governmental structure. Right. So it's a kind of a secretive process all the way through.
Yeah. But they have to get, there's a certain level of threshold of proof to get
have strong proof
to do a secret investigation, right?
Yeah.
Well, you would think, but
they used this
campaign funded foreign investigator. It's insane. Right. Foreign investigators files to be able to support the Trump. So anyway, so the Mueller investigation ended up. So you remember Trump fired Comey.
Okay.
Comey. And then, which meant that they had to create a special investigating ring, which ended up being the Mueller team.
Mueller came in. Yeah,
Mueller came in.
Who used to be a director of the FBI
under George Bush, right? Under George Bush. Right. And so that investigation with Trump took about 25 to 35 million. I heard 25 million. Then yesterday I heard 20. It keeps growing. So it took about $35 million, the last number I heard, and about 50 lawyers.
Oh, it's expensive.
Circus. Over 500 interviews. And then that all translated into this 400-page report.
Okay.
So that's what happened.
Where they found all the dirt was true.
Well, and then Barr, attorney, so that report gets handed over to the Department of Justice Attorney General William Barr.
Right.
And that got handed over in March. We all know it got handed over in March. And then Barr releases just a 4-page summary saying, so the two things they were after was there collusion and was there obstruction of justice?
Right.
Okay. And so Barr's 4-page summary of the 400-page report said, no collusion and not enough evidence for obstruction of justice.
Which he summarized what Mueller
so he just summarized the report. And then the Democrats say that's not good enough. You're coming in, we're going to interview you. So they didn't like Barr's 4-page summary. They said Barr was lying. If you remember, this all happened in March, right? They said Barr was lying. They just kind of
and Mueller didn't help things. Mueller didn't help things, right?
No,
because he actually wrote to Barr and said, hey, you didn't represent me properly in how you released the report.
So then the Democrats demand that the full report be released? Or was that already going to be released anyways? They didn't have to release it.
Actually, legally, he's not allowed to release the whole thing to them anyway.
Right, because it belongs to...
only a grand jury could see the whole thing. If it was going to go to trial, then the grand jury would be able to see the unredacted report. It belongs to the
executive branch.
Right. Yeah, that's
it's their investigation. And so...
And Congress has the right to investigate. So they could pay $35 million to do their own investigation they want.
Right.
They can do it.
So it's released. And 8% of it is redacted.
Yeah, all but 8%.
All but 8%
is redacted.
So you remember
92% of it is revealed.
Yeah. And so remember, Barr releases the 4-page summary, and then about 3 weeks later, 2 to 4 weeks later, he releases the whole report. This gets us to April.
Yeah.
And the Democrats are mad because they're saying Barr's lying, but the whole
it's right here.
The whole report. The whole report is right
so
there.
So he's like, here, read it. Read the report for yourself. I just summarized the findings.
Yep.
And then they recently find him in contempt.
This is the part where I fall apart because I don't understand what they're putting him in contempt for.
Well, real quick before we get there, I want to play the video of him in the middle of his hearing before Congress. Okay, so this is Barr explaining why he wrote his letter the way he wrote it,
and why Mueller was upset with him,
and why Mueller was upset.
All right,
here we go.
If you received a letter from Bob Mueller a few days after your March 24th letter, it was clear he had some genuine concerns about what you had said and done to that point. Can we move to another topic?
Yeah, his concerns was he wanted more ad, and I would analogize it to this. After a months-long trial, if I wanted to go out and get out to the public what the verdict was, pending preparation of the full transcript, and I'm out there saying, here's the verdict, and the prosecutor comes up and taps me on the shoulder and says, well, the verdict doesn't really fully capture all my work. How about that great, cross-examination I did? Or how about that third day of trial where I did that? This doesn't capture everything. My answer to that is I'm not trying to capture everything. I'm just trying to state the verdict.
So that's
So he says his 4th-page letter, I was just stating the verdict.
That's all he was doing.
And Mueller was mad or upset somewhat that the 4-page letter didn't go into all the
flair and juice and details,
nuance of the report,
my emotions behind what I was writing,
and but the answer, of course, is, and so then we released the whole report.
Yeah, exactly.
And now he's held in contempt?
Yeah, because he won't allow them to see the unredacted
The 8%.
part, the 8% that they think there's something else underneath this.
He didn't have to show them any of the report.
Correct.
Unless there was a grand jury
and that's actually
order.
And so he even allowed for them. He said, listen, guys.
Okay, fine.
Special parts of the Congress can come into a room and amongst themselves conversate, and I will even allow less redactions, and you guys can view that.
Oh, he even offered that?
He even offered that, and they said no and gave a counter offer because what they want the grand jury testimonies that he has, the grand jury evidence that he has. And he's like, I'm not going to release that.
Yeah.
That's ours.
Yeah.
That's the part you can't see. That's where it's come down to. That's the only thing that's there.
Right.
And so I just don't understand.
And this is normal. When there's sensitive information, you have you don't release it publicly. You redact it, but also
it's law. They're not supposed to see it.
You aren't supposed to see it. And if it goes to trial, then that sensitive information can be dealt with within the confines of a jury. It's protected. It's still protected and everything.
They could use they could go about getting it another way. They could go about other ways to get this unredacted information.
Right. They could actually go to court.
They can go to court to get it.
Right.
But this has to do with Trump.
Right.
Oh, absolutely. Well, and you remember the Democrats just this last week, I think it was Nancy Pelosi said, several Democrats have said this, we are in the midst of a constitutional crisis. So they're throwing everything.
How is this a constitutional crisis? 8% is what's left.
The Democrats are causing the constitutional crisis because they're the ones trying to get the executive branch to basically bow to them.
Yes.
And the executive branch is saying, no, look, we did our job. In many ways, the executive branch has played along with some stuff
that they didn't have to.
That they didn't really have to.
For a long time.
I mean, they didn't even have to do the Mueller investigation.
No, they didn't.
I mean, if the legislative branch believes that the executive branch is doing something nefarious, then they are responsible to go to court and ask a judge to look into that.
Or has done.
Or actually hire a prosecuting attorney and go after him.
The only reason I think Trump has played along this far, and I'm not mad at him for doing it in one sense because he had to clear his name.
Right, he was trying to clear his name.
If he would have tried to say, I'm not going to play their game, he would have looked guilty all the way up until now.
Right.
So he had to play along
just
to clear his name. But at this point, his name's been cleared.
Oh, yeah.
It's all over. I'm not playing your game anymore.
Right. I'm nervous if the Democrats ever get back in control. They are. I mean, from everything I've seen this last year with the Kavanaugh hearings,
this is a Kavanaugh hearing all over again.
All over again,
it is.
And then the Democrats wanting the marathon bomber to be able to vote. They want to upend the Electoral College. I mean, they are wanting to basically all those plays all the things they're saying and all the plays that they're trying to run. To me, it just looks like all they care about is power.
Well, and
I wouldn't put much. I mean, Republicans aren't far from this charge either. But the Democrats, with what I've seen this last year, I'm nervous if they ever get back in power.
But they don't have any teeth, though. I mean, they don't have any teeth. All they have is a stall tactic. That is their biggest.
No, but if they're in power, dude, they don't care about justice. They don't care about your rights. They don't care. I mean, they don't care about Kavanaugh's rights. They don't care about Barr's rights.
Yeah, the thing about this though is, I mean, my hope and prayer and all this is that they continue to overplay their hands. I think the whole Kavanaugh thing, ticked a lot of people off. Yeah. And a lot of people even Democrats saw them like, this is ridiculous. Yeah. And I think they're getting really, really close to the exact same thing with Trump. It's like, look, he sometimes says things that are offensive. Sometimes he doesn't want to play the game. Sometimes whatever, but this whole deal goes back to Hillary.
Yeah. I know.
By the
Hillary
way,
started this.
This goes back to Hillary.
Based on a false document.
Yeah.
This is a false document.
Based on a false document.
And he's sitting here, Barr sitting up here, have to argue his position.
And they're like, we're holding you in contempt. No.
I'm in contempt because of Hillary's campaign-funded investigation.
Right. Yeah. The FISA court wrongly thought was good evidence.
So I'm in contempt?
Right. It's ridiculous. It's crazy. This last week, 2 students opened fire in a charter school.
Yeah.
In an affluent suburb of Denver, not far from Columbine.
Yeah.
Remember that was
7 miles
shooting
or so, right?
back there. This time, 1 student was killed, 8 were wounded. And there's a number of interesting things about this story.
Yeah.
What's really being played up in the news right now is the heroic efforts of one particular student who, when the one student opened fire, immediately jumped up and basically tackled the student with a gun, who was shot in the process and killed.
Yep.
But the shooting was initially disrupted by the leadership of this one student who was killed, along with several other students who basically tackled the shooters.
Way to go, guys.
Yeah. Imagine if that student had a gun.
Well, hold on, Gabe.
It would have. But anyways,
sorry, he's from Texas.
Yeah.
He doesn't know better. But
they did have an armed guard there, though.
But the thing that's striking, so thankfully, because of the bravery and the courage and the heroism of these students,
less probably died.
Less died. It was stopped quickly and so on. Some of the interesting things, though, in the background that we wanted to note was just number one, the lead shooter, the young man.
He's an anti-Trumper.
He's a
anti-Christian,
significantly like outspoken anti-Trump, liberal leftist guy.
Yeah,
and that's not getting played up at all. Who is this guy?
Well, I mean, I didn't when the shooting happened. You heard about it, and then it just kind of disappeared for a couple days. What came back up was actually the heroism of this
right.
This
that's
kid.
That's what they're playing up. Which,
that's what they're playing
again,
up.
I appreciate that. I want to play up the heroism of that student. That's very good, and praise God, thank God for him.
But this is not the normal narrative that you hear after a school shooting.
Most shootings.
We need to get rid of guns.
But before that, there's still a little bit of that. But the thing that they immediately want to talk about is the motivation behind the shooting. We're not hearing any of the motivation. Remember the anti-Semitism?
Yeah. Right.
We just had the kid from the
California,
the Reformed Presbyterian Church down in Southern California who shoots up the synagogue, and everybody's talking about his theology and his anti-Semitism, and you see what this leads to.
Yep. Where is that?
Crickets.
Where is that?
What motivated this guy's shooting?
Yep. Anti-Trump?
What did motivate?
Liberalism?
We don't know.
Weed? Does he smoke weed in Colorado?
So the point isn't that we know. The point is, why are we not talking about it?
Yeah.
That's the narrative. But I think the point is that the media talks about what motivated the shooting when it suits their agenda.
Yeah, that's right.
When the agenda is we need to show how any kind of fundamentalism, people who really believe the Bible or really believe in this faith, in their Christian faith, that drives that heads to violence.
Yeah, we want to deconstruct that.
It radicalizes people.
Right.
That's the language.
Well,
they
the
use.
other person involved in all this was a woman who's transitioning to a boy. So the other shooter in all this.
You
haven't heard
cross-dressing.
You haven't heard. Yeah, right.
Yeah, no, but that's the thing though. That's the other thing that I wanted to point out is that if you read through a number of the stories, you'll find out that in some of the early reporting, police officers actually said we didn't know if it was a boy or a girl. And then they said we got back to the station and we realized that it was a girl.
Wow.
And they were referring to her as a girl.
Right.
Huh.
And then in a day or two later, a couple stories come out and say, actually, we realized that she calls herself Alec and is referred to by a male pronoun.
So why don't they use the terminology transgender?
But there's no mention of trans or transgender anywhere in these stories. Why?
Because it's not a good narrative. They don't want to bash transgender community.
Could there be anything? Is there anything about somebody who is so confused, so depressed, so angry with their life that they would be willing to transition, or try to transition genders, that could then also drive them to, I don't know, violence?
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. So transgendered, when I looked at pictures of these shooters yesterday, I was sad for them.
Yes.
They are unloved. But when you're taught that you're just chemicals, you're just molecules, you're just biology, just evolving in this world, and then you can evolve from a man to a woman to a man, and then what's the problem with shooting someone and them evolving into the dirt again?
But the thing is with that is that they're already doing violence to the world that God made. They're already doing violence to their own bodies. They're doing violence
in the classroom. Remember when we had Larry Stevenson on? We're letting the wolves in the classroom. We let the snipers in the classroom a long time ago.
We're doing violence to truth.
Yeah.
And then we do violence to God's truth and people.
You said it was a girl, right?
It's a girl. Yeah, and that's the other problem
Tell
with
me
this.
about this toxic masculinity again.
That's the other thing. Yeah, it doesn't fit. It doesn't fit any of the narratives, and so we're not talking about it.
Bible reading challenge.
All right, George Gilder, when we come back on Cross Politics, I really like our new machine. Life after Google.
Thank you, Eric.
Miss it.
Classical Conversations supports homeschooling parents by cultivating the love of learning through a Christian worldview in fellowship with other families. We provide a classical, Christ-centered curriculum, local, like-minded communities across the United States and in several countries, and we train parents who are striving to be great classical educators in the home. For more information and to get connected, please visit our website at classicalconversations.com. Classical, Christian, get connected, get community.
If you need a little red meat in your diet, Pastor Doug Wilson.
By the thousands, parents are saying, "Not with my kid, you don't," and have enrolled their children in private academies, have started to homeschool, have taken advantage of tutorial services, and so forth. However, this growing challenge to secular education has some necessary ramifications in the years to come, for which established evangelical colleges are singularly unprepared. The reasons for this are legion, but all reduced to the embarrassing fact that there's far too much jelly in evangelical.
To enjoy more red meat of this kind, check out the podcast on iTunes, or for more blogging of this particular nature, blog and Mayblog at DougWills.com.
Welcome back to Cross Politic on the Fight Laugh Feast Network. Thank you for joining us. We are very excited and honored to have with us on the line Mr. George Gilder. George Gilder is one of the leading economic and technological thinkers of the past 40 years. He's the author of 19 books, including Men and Marriage, Wealth and Poverty, Life After Television, Knowledge and Power, The Scandal of Money, and most recently, Life After Google.
Wow.
According to a study of presidential speeches, Mr. Gilder was President Reagan's most frequently quoted living author.
Wow, I did not know that.
In 1986, President Reagan gave George Gilder the White House Award for Entrepreneurial Excellence.
Wow.
He's a founding fellow of the Discovery Institute, where he began his study of information theory. He's also an influential venture investor. Mr. Gilder is a contributing editor of Forbes magazine and a frequent writer for The Economist, American Spectator, Harvard Business Review, Wall Street Journal, and other publications.
Oh, my goodness.
Mr. Gilder lives in
over the years. That bio, I'm not sure where you got that bio, but I haven't written for a lot of those 10% discount things. I haven't written for a lot of those publications for a while.
Oh, for a while. Well,
okay.
But you did write for them.
Yeah.
I
sure did.
Do you still live in Massachusetts in the Berkshire Mountains?
I sure do.
Okay, well, that's good.
All right.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Gilder. It's great to have you on Cross Politic.
It's great to be here.
In Life After Google, you predict the fall of the Google empire because you argue that those business giants are built on a false worldview that you sometimes call Google Marxism. What do you mean by that? And what are the false assumptions driving Google and these infotech giants?
Well, Google is making the same error that Karl Marx did. Karl Marx's great misconception was that the Industrial Revolution of his era, all railroads and turbines and assembly lines and factories and the beginning of electricity represented a kind of final thing, an eschaton. And that in the future, the problem of politics and economics wouldn't be creating wealth, but it would be redistributing wealth. And the Google people make the same error. They say that their artificial intelligence is so brilliant that it's leading to a singularity where human beings will be made obsolete, and Brennan Page and will fly off to nearby planets with Elon Musk in a winner-take-all universe, while the rest of us retire to beaches on a guaranteed annual income.
Wow.
And it's just a return of the old Marxist illusion that you don't need entrepreneurial creativity anymore in the image of our creator. Instead, we need redistribution by experts.
By experts. So and time, even the experts will be replaced by machines.
Oh, wow.
So
it's complete. It's a complete delusion. There's virtually no validity in it. Current changes in computer science are not greater than previous changes. There's no acceleration of progress projecting toward an exponential future where machines will be more intelligent or more capable than human beings.
So you're saying you're saying that worldview actually has significant implications on business practices.
Absolutely. Worldview is one of the problems of Google is because they have a total commitment to materialist evolution. They believe that human beings are just a product of some kind of random process and are way suboptimal compared to the machines that their experts can build in laboratories based on their new scientific pursuits. And wow. It's an illusion, and it leads to this very self-defeating worldview. And I do big numbers. You know, I've been following this technology for decades, and I've always looked to the point of the zettabyte era. That is when the whole internet would pass a zettabyte in total storage. and what people don't realize is this is the whole internet. All the storage and processing on the internet comes to about a zettabyte. But the connectome of the human brain also takes about a zettabyte to store. That's 10 to the 21st. That's just a vast number beyond easy conception. And in other words, the human brain is as complex as the entire global internet. And
wow.
One human brain. And one human brain functions on 12 to 14 watts of energy. The global internet that takes billions and billions of watts of energy.
Wow.
So we aren't even remotely close to reproducing the capabilities of a single human brain, let alone 4 billion human brains,
wow.
or 10 billion human brains.
Thank you. I want to go back to my old high school and remind them how smart I am now.
So George, when you talk about wealth and what it is, what is it? What is wealth, and how is it that you accumulate wealth?
Well, wealth is knowledge. And we know wealth is knowledge because the Neanderthal in his cave had all the material resources we have today. The difference between our age and the Stone Age is entirely an accumulation of knowledge. And if wealth is knowledge, economic growth can be defined as learning. And this is what economic growth is. It's finding out new things. It's increasing the repositories of knowledge.
So how do I take my knowledge?
But learning means finding out new things, and that means that outcomes can't be determined ahead of time.
Right. That's really interesting. So George, how do I take my knowledge and turn it into money? If I have a bunch of ideas, how do I convert my knowledge into money?
Well, through capitalist business plans, you take your knowledge and you expose it to an experimental test in the market, which can affirm it if your customers voluntarily purchase your product and your product performs the function for them. But if your speculative knowledge is disproven, if nobody wants your product, then you still learn, and
really good.
you proceed to improve it. And that's how capitalism is not chiefly an incentive system, a system of carrots and sticks or rewards and punishments. Mark Zuckerberg doesn't need $80 billion in order to motivate him to go to the office every day.
Yeah.
The reason Mark Zuckerberg has this huge wealth that he has is because he invested it, and it's invested. And if Mark Zuckerberg really tried to sell all his shares of Facebook, he would probably discover the value of the shares would drop faster than he could sell them. I mean, capitalism is an information system and a moral system, not of human creators in the image of their creator, not a system of carrots and sticks and rewards and punishments, not a Skinner box whereby human beings are essentially programmed by their physical environment.
It sounds like you're saying that capitalism is a Christian theory of economics. Can you explain how is that so?
Because capitalism is based on the dignity and really sanctity of individual human beings. Christianity asserts that human beings have souls, and they and are sacred ultimately, and are made in the image of their creator to be creative. The Google philosophy assumes that human beings are just material products of evolution and really subject to the what I call the flat universe theory. The flat universe says there's nothing out there but physics and chemistry.
Yeah.
That's the flat universe theory. And most of Silicon Valley upholds the flat universe theory.
Wow. In your book, Knowledge and Power, you have a beautiful chapter at the very end where you argue that capitalism is an economic theory of gift giving. Can you explain that?
Yeah.
You mean greed?
A gift is not really an offering that where you expect no return. That's a misconception of what a gift is. You give a gift in the expectation of some kind of affirmation from the rest of the universe, from your religion or your sense of the truth or your expectation of ultimate reciprocation. That's what a gift is. The idea that a gift is totally selfless or totally without expectation of any return is false. And once you get over that, you realize that investments are really gifts. You make, the capitalist makes a gift, makes an investment, and the world, and he has to have faith that the world will respond positively to his investment, that people in the market will voluntarily respond to his offering. And in that sense, capitalism is a system of altruism. You have to respond to the needs of others imaginatively, and you have to collaborate with others, and you have to trust others. It's an other-oriented system, not a system based on incentives and selfishness, as is often
It's like
described.
loving your neighbor.
Yeah,
it's like loving your neighbor.
So George, you're making my brain hurt a little bit. Are you basically saying an investment is a gift because of not only the risk that person's taking to put into an investment, but also because of the results of what that investment can do to other people.
Yeah, I mean, the investment will succeed or fail depending on the voluntary responses of other people.
Yeah.
Right.
Taking, it doesn't, investment can't be taking. That's
opposite.
Investments are giving, not taking.
Huh.
Somebody who's interested in socialists want to take. Socialism is based on people declaring their right for various material benefits.
Huh.
And combining politically to seize wealth from other people and take it for your own purposes.
That's really good. That's kind of a good argument against socialists, is that you can ask them, what are you doing to give to society?
I'm taking from you is what I'm doing.
Yeah. What are you doing to produce? What are you doing to invest? What are you doing to give? That's
okay,
really
George, there's a lot of people who are amateurs on this. A lot of people are going to hear this for the first time, but you talk about the future is blockchain technology and kind of the Bitcoin security. Could you kind of just break down that whole world? What is blockchain? What is Bitcoin, cryptocurrency?
Yep.
Kind of break down for us amateurs. What is that?
Well, what you want to understand is there are two great crises underway in the world economy. One of them is the breakdown of trust on the internet. Last year, the more companies spend on security, the less security they get. That's the increase in expenditures and encryption and firewalls and all the various security apparatus are increasing 20 to 30% a year. Wow. And yet last year there were more breaches on the internet than ever before. 1 billion breaches of private information occurred last year on the internet. There's a complete collapse of internet security, and this results in everybody distrusting everybody else and constant accusations of conspiracy and
collusion.
And we don't even dare let the Chinese company, the leading capitalist company in China by many measures, Huawei, build networks in the United States. Although they buy $11 billion worth of chips from Intel to do it.
Wow.
Because we think the internet is constantly being hacked. It's not trustworthy. So that's the first big crisis. And the other is the crisis of money. You know what the largest industry in the world economy is? By far, 25 times bigger than all global GDP, 73 times bigger than all trade in goods and services. It's currency trading. And all this currency trading, this vast $5.1 trillion a day of currency trading doesn't even arrive at currency sufficiently reliable so that we don't have constant threats of trade wars and accusations of monetary manipulation and really a breakdown of the world economy of trust and trade, which is the source of all our wealth and growth. So these are the two big problems. Both of them are addressed by this new movement, this new global movement of cryptocurrencies based on a blockchain. And a blockchain is a new architecture of internet security. It rather than taking all the private information and putting it in centralized databases somewhere, where everybody knows where it is and what's important, and then defending it with firewalls and encryption and all the various devices. Rather, the blockchain distributes this information all over all the nodes of the network. And this means that stealing it in one place is irrelevant because unless you control half the computers on the network, you can't change anything.
Right.
So it's a new form of security, and it's also a new form of money that mimics gold. Gold is the last global money we had, where there was a single money, essentially, as a measuring stick for commerce all around the world. And under the gold standard, the world economy had its most prosperous era. The Industrial Revolution occurred, the British Empire spread around the globe, and for 200 years, interest rates scarcely went above 4%. There was virtually no inflation.
Wow.
Entrepreneurs could plan and make commitments over decades without worrying that the money would dissolve. So 200 years with virtually no inflation, we will go off the gold standard, and 97% of the value of the dollar gets lost in 50 years.
Wow. So what Bitcoin should I be investing in right now?
Bitcoin has a problem with its design, and that problem is being worked out, and there are now lots of competitive Bitcoins.
Yep.
But the key thing that happened in the last year, the key problem that the blockchain movement solved was IPOs. The U.S. has not had any initial public offerings to speak of for decades. We now have fewer IPOs than China. But China has 3 times more IPOs than we do. That's initial public offerings of companies on the stock exchange.
Uh-huh.
So, and this is because of Sarbanes-Oxley and other laws that make it so costly and perilous to go public that only the biggest companies can manage to do it.
Interesting.
So on one blockchain called Ethereum, conducted $25 billion worth of initial coin offerings. These are new coins and tokens to finance a couple thousand new companies in the last 12 months or so. I mean, it's just an awesome feat from showing that blockchains are not a trivial breakthrough. They allow tremendous fundraising for companies just for one very serious application that really has endowed most of the next generation of exciting new technologies in the world.
Yeah.
Do you want to ask any more about blockchain?
Of course I do. I want to ask him a bunch of questions.
I'll give you one more.
Okay.
Life after Google.
I know, that's right. That's what I was going to say. I'm going to hold off on life after Google. Go ahead. I'll let yours go.
Well, I actually want to push this one more direction, George, and that is, I just finished your very first book, Sexual Suicide, which was republished as Men in Marriage. And I want to connect the dots for us. You outline in that book why men in monogamous heterosexual marriage is so essential for the long-term stability and success for a culture or society or economy. And can you briefly sketch that argument and get our audience to buy your book?
Men are connected to the future through their children. And that means that the connection of men to the future leads through the wombs of women. And women have this tremendous power over men. And this power that they exercise in a Christian culture with families and fathers and marriages, the fathers get tied to the future through their children and earn their role in their children's lives by supporting their families.
You're multiplying knowledge by having kids.
Yes, you're multiplying knowledge. Not only multiplying knowledge, you're extending the society into the future.
That's
you're
right.
achieving the survival of the human race. And men are dependent on women for that, and that dependency is enforced through Christian marriage.
Mm.
And without it, men are kind of set adrift in society, and they tend to become enemies of society. And the Islamic world is full of harems and polygyny. That's the powerful men can have many wives and dominate the lives of many young women. And in the West, it happens through serial divorces and other such.
Can we just keep talking to George for the third segment? Can we just, George, how much time do you have? I just want to keep talking. I have so many questions I want to ask you. You got a couple more minutes?
Another 10 minutes?
What time? Yeah, I got till 1 o'clock. That's okay.
Let's make it happen. Okay.
Yeah. Let's just finish this out with George.
Can you connect this? Just connect. So you said men tend to become, antisocial. They begin to fight against civilization. So we keep seeing these like shooters, for example, in the news. Is this connected to the failure or the rejection of Christian marriage?
I think so. I think that these that the role of men in the world is very much embattled, and boys growing up have little idea of what their roles are to be. Their sexuality is condemned. It's Me Too, the male initiative, which is inherent in male bodies and female bodies, is condemned, and children are regarded to be a burden on the environment, or they emit carbon dioxide.
That's right.
CO2.
Yeah, I mean, and so it really is there really is a crisis of male motivation and male connection to the future, and this makes crazed men, men who aren't at least stable psychologically, a dire threat to the society.
Wow.
And
you tell
and of course, Islamic men feel completely dispensable because the powerful men can have a whole bunch of wives.
Yeah. You mentioned in that book that as marriage became, I'm paraphrasing it, as marriage became more open for partners to leave, it also opened it up for the powerful to intrude.
Oh,
that's exactly right. I probably said that once.
So George, we've talked a lot about knowledge. Knowledge is wealth. You're connecting that to basically what it means for masculinity in our society. How do we fix this?
Well, I really do think we do need a religious revival. We need and that has often happened throughout history. The periods of where faith fails and chaos ensues, and then there are great awakenings and great revivals and reformations.
Amen.
And renaissances, and I think it's really a mistake, almost like the Google Marxism, to imagine that because we're in a dire time at the moment that we can't recover. And
you starting to sound Presbyterian to me. Are you Presbyterian?
Well, I actually was baptized by a Presbyterian minister named George Buttrick.
I'll take that.
I go to a congregational church in my hometown.
Well, you in Massachusetts, it's a congregational state.
You tell a beautiful story, George, at the end in your afterword in Men and Marriage about finding a manuscript written by your biological dad. Can you tell us that story?
Yeah. Well, my father was killed in the Second World War, and I scarcely ever knew him. And I wrote a book called Wealth and Poverty on economics, supply side economics, the altruism of capitalism, the futility of greed as a motivation for investment and industry. And then after Wealth and Poverty was a worldwide bestseller, my uncle said they found a box of papers from my father in the attic. I never heard of it. And I looked at the papers, and my father, when he died in the Second World War, was in the process of writing a book of economics, which could have been entitled Wealth and Poverty.
Wow.
It had a great stress on intangible capital and knowledge and information and all those. It was really almost a mystical experience. Somehow I'd been guided to write a book that my father would have wanted to write.
That's amazing.
That's great.
As if he was still guiding my life, although I didn't know him. And I actually didn't even talk about him a great deal because my mother remarried his first cousin, and my father wasn't much discussed in the house.
That's an amazing story.
Yeah.
Okay, this I think we're hitting.
We got to wrap it up.
We're going to wrap it up for you. But this last part, one of the things that I saw that you said the greatest scandal in probably the last few decades has been the guaranteed college fund, and I'm trying to figure out, like, really?
That's the greatest scandal?
That's some of the greatest scandals that's happened recently is that. And I'm like, why? Since they're actually gaining knowledge. Isn't that what you say you're supposed to do to get wealth? And they're saying, hey, we're giving you money to get wealth, right? So how's that one of the greatest scandals guaranteeing college?
Well, the guaranteed student loans for raised some $2.2 trillion now. I think it's over $2 trillion of student loans.
Yep.
And the colleges didn't take the student loans, all this $2 trillion of additional money guaranteed by the taxpayer, and improve education or actually make the colleges better or reduce the tuitions for the students. Instead, the colleges took the money and ran. They built up these vast administrative offices with gender studies, enforcement, and all this destruction of knowledge rather than actual learning. And so I think that this is a great scandal. I mean, instead of the cost of education rose faster than anything, except maybe the cost of medical care. And both of them were guaranteed by government.
Yeah.
If you guarantee something by government,
surprise.
You don't learn. There's no learning.
I would just say the one difference there is The one difference there is at least hospitals can still deal with my health problems right now. That's it.
What's that?
I was just saying the one difference between education and healthcare is at least hospitals can still deal with my health problems right now.
Give it 4 years.
The universities can't deal with my knowledge problems.
for a little bit.
Yeah.
Man.
So, George, so Life After Google, available on Amazon, everywhere books are sold. George, I'm so grateful that you came on the show. Thank you so much, sir, for your time.
Yeah, that was good.
That was really good.
Wait, I just found all these books I feel like I don't know where I've been.
My Kindle just got lit up. I will tell you that.
But y'all need to go out and buy all the George Gilder books you can find. Find them on Audible.
Yes.
Thank you so much, George.
And like I always say,
Thank you. Great to be.
I think it has more value to me now, too. If you're single, get married. If you're married, have kids. And if you have kids, go baptize them. Until next week, love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. Love your neighbor as yourself. Go fight, laugh, and feast. This is Cross Politics.
That was good. Hey, George.